Welcome back to Shards and Shenanigans. I'm your host, Christopher. This is my pal here.
Hi.
Hi, Kyle. What's up, Kyle?
Hey,
Well, we're here for a
we're doing it.
very exciting episode of Shards and
We're finally
Shenanigans.
there.
I think we're finally there. This is the end of the Final Empire, season one, Shards and Shenanigans. It's been a real ride. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy that so this episode, chapter 38 and the epilogue is what we're covering here, and it's been a journey to get here. I think we probably started reading maybe in like March maybe, and it was kind of hit or miss, and we didn't even start recording until um a little after that, maybe April, and then we certainly didn't start editing until even after that. And then I can't even tell you when our first episode went up. Huh? I mean, I
Oh
guess
gosh, what was
YouTube's
it?
got it as April 24th is when we
Nice.
put up our, like, we're getting ready to read the book. Like, what are our
Our
predictions
intro.
episode?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So that was a while ago, and
That was a good time.
yeah. So it's kind of crazy that we're here now on many months later,
Yeah,
finishing out. So
yeah. Shards
I'm
and
happy to be
Shenanigans
here,
Day.
though.
Absolutely happy to be
And it was
here.
an emotional and
Oh yeah, emotional, intense. There's a lot going on here at the end. I mean, it ends strong. I think one of the things I really liked about it is that it ends really well for a book. If people are
yeah,
just getting into Mistborn and don't really are daunted by a lot of books that you could possibly read, um, it's a good place to end if you so choose. But I
yeah,
didn't.
like you'd be satisfied, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think you would.
Yeah. If you wanted and done it, yeah, this would be like, oh yeah, that was a good book. What else can I?
Hmm. That's how I feel.
So
But yeah, oh man. Well, I'm excited. Last snack.
yeah. Any thoughts before we get into 38 in the epilogue, or
Oh, yeah, just my main thoughts of like, yeah, following the fun, kernels that we've been tracking the whole story. I think it's really fun here at the end to get some more information on those things, but also like some new questions kind of popping up as well from some of the answers. So yeah, I just think that's what I really liked the most about it, and yeah, stoked to read on. No other. What about you? Any major final thoughts before you finish this out?
yeah, so we get some I think good conclusions to some questions and ideas that we have had, and we start to obviously see some things play out, which is great. And then um I think the amount of kind of openness to what could happen next and what are some of these other mysteries that have been solved is kind of the right amount. And so it's certainly going to be fun to explore those, I think, in the future. And after we recorded our last podcast, which, I think was maybe around a week ago. Yeah, I think about a week ago. Um, I immediately tore into these, right? And so
Yeah,
normally I don't read the episodes or chapters, I should say, until we're recording, like that day, to try to be super fresh. But obviously I couldn't wait. I couldn't.
right.
We had only those two left, so it was hard for me to let those lie, and so I had to jump in, and so not gonna be I'm not gonna be as fresh, I think. So bear with me, I think, is the last thought I have before we get into it.
Ah, we
So
got this. It'll be great. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But kernel snack,
Whet the
popcorn
whistle.
snack. We're gonna put the H before the W and get rolling
Whet.
here. So
Whet the whistle.
finishing out part 5 of the Mistborn Final Empire, the first of the trilogy here, and chapter 38 with a snack. And I just highlighted the whole thing because I think we have seen, like, is this not something that we have seen exactly before, if not pretty close? I mean, fears as I scribble with an ice crusted pen on the eve before the world's reborn. Rashek watches, hating me. The cavern lies above, pulsing. My fingers quiver, not from the cold. I feel like that's like a direct quote. Or maybe we read it in
Vin's perspective,
Yeah,
I think.
Vin's perspective. Okay.
I think
Yeah, that
this
makes sense
is
what she was
this
reading
is
at.
the end, right before she like gets up and she goes over to Sazed and she interrupts him and she's like, "Hey, where's the last chapter, Mister?" And he's obviously like, "There's no more chapters." Kelsier is also disappointed. I think that's what it's coming from. But yeah, no, we know this well, but I think I like how it's positioned here, right before the precipice, if you will, right before the cave. That's pulsing for us, which is like this mystery, right? Like it's this metaphor for all the things that we don't know that's going on. So I guess we'll have to read and find out.
Guess we'll have to eat dinner now. Bummer. So jumping in, main meal 38, last numbered chapter of the book. So if you'll recall, jumping back to the second to last numbered chapter of the book, 37. So Elend had just come. He had entered into Credit Shaw in an attempt to save Vin. She ended up kind of saving herself a little bit, but we'll say it was mutual here. Saze is with her, and she's so excited that he came for her, and they're all trying to leave. Saze is trying to get her out. Ellen's trying to get her out, and she decides, "Hey, no, I'm not going. I think I know how to kill him. Kill the Lord Ruler. You go out. You guys go without me. Go to the treasury, get the ATM out, all that kind of stuff. But I'm staying."
Yeah.
And so that leads us right into 38, where she's now made her way from the deepest dungeons to flying through the air outside. So missed a little segue there, but she is flying through the air above Credit Shaw. It's still dark out, and she's kind of passing all the spires and all the towers of the keep here. And they're saying morning is near. So it's kind of been all night that this has happened. It's been a really long, couple of days, right? Between, hanging out, waking up this day, or I guess the day prior in the second hangout or the second underground lair, like the backup lair.
Right.
And, waking up there and then determining that Kelsier's back, and then he sleeps, and then the next day, hey, like, something's going on in the square, and then the big battle there, and then
Inquisitor.
Vin thinking everybody's left her. So it's been an incredibly long. Certainly a couple days, but specifically this day. She's been up all night, battling people and sneaking into Credit Shaw and getting her ass kicked, and so it's interesting here. I think how is she still going?
Right. Yeah. No. Absolutely. Very determined. Determined is an understatement, I feel like, for Vin in this state. Yeah, she's pushing it to the limit.
Yeah, she's a rock star. So as she's flying, there's thousands of torches. All these great waves of torches are converging on the palace. So it's good to see that the Ska Rebellion is alive and well, and that they're kind of marching on the palace. But she is thinking here, and this is very Elend-esque about what he was thinking, that if the Ska were to enter into the palace, like they'll be doomed, and I think some of that's mostly her thoughts of when she had just witnessed the Lord Ruler's pretty divine power, right? Like he's so much stronger than what anybody could ever, kind of go against. And so this is her drive. It's now or never. Like, if we don't do this now, everyone's gonna die. Like, I have to try. And so she sees the throne tower, so where the Lord Ruler's throne's at, and those bonfires that were kind of around the glass that surrounded that room. She could see those on the outside of that building burning, and there's like stained glass windows looking down in. And she's got this one idea, and she's thinking, just like Kelsier would, it's got to work. Like, it has to work. So yeah, and then we get I guess it's Well, it's a perspective change, not really a time warp, perspective change, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
A new one. I think is our first time. I think first time.
I think it might be our first time in a car perspective.
Yeah, no, I think this is his first one. But yeah, no, you can see he's just as crooked and kind of evil, spooky as the other ones. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Um, so get into his perspective. The Lord Ruler is granting the Canton of Inquisition over to is granting them organizational dominance of the ministry, basically putting the Inquisitors, Steel Inquisitors, in charge of the entire ministry, taking that away from the Obligators.
Right.
And anything that was going to Tavidian, who is now just savagely murdered, is all going to go to Carr. Carr's in charge. She's my second in command. And Carr's thinking, wow, finally, like this is what he's been planning, what some of the other Inquisitors have been planning for a very long time. And so he raises his head, and his eye spikes, are throbbing, as always, bringing him pain. But, it's beautiful pain. It's pain of joy. And so I thought that was interesting. Whatever happened to make them this way is causing them kind of this eternal pain,
yes,
and suffering,
right?
Which is I would imagine, very harsh way to live.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely constantly dragging on your mind, pain like eating away at your, at your nature. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and we get to see here another interesting tidbit that it's 2 centuries of basically planning to get this plan to even work, like to take over from the Obligators. That's a really long time to that's the long con. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. He's been after it, man. He's been definitely doing work in the scenes in the background, which is cool because it's cool world building. Like it's nothing we've had really visual on at all, so it's kind of huge. Like, what the hell is going on with that?
Yeah, it's good perspective, and it's good, like you said. It's just something different, so
Totally.
It's nice to see. And speaking of different, how about seeing in a weird way?
Yeah.
So
Inquisitor, totally.
This is really, I think, fascinating science behind what's going on with these Inquisitors, right? Like, they obviously don't have eyes anymore. They've got these spikes going through their head. And so we get details about how they're actually able to see the world around them, and that everything has metal in it, whether it's water or stone or bodies or anything like that. And that the metals, they're not really affected by allomancy. They're such small amounts. Most allomancers can't see them, but with his Inquisitor eyes, Carr can. So his iron lines kind of shoot out from his, I guess, spikes.
Yeah.
And he's got these very, very extremely fine lines that kind of outline the world for him. So I'm thinking it's almost like LiDAR or something, but what I'm really thinking of is the scene in the Matrix when Neo sees the world and Matrix code all around him, like he's not actually seeing, he's like, I don't know, that's what came to mind when I read this.
Totally, because you don't actually see like people's faces, but you can see the outlines and everything and the patterns. Yeah, cool. I dig it. I like it. The Matrix.
Yeah. He's seeing the I guess these minerals that are in everything, and his allomancy allows him to kind of make out the outlines of everything around him. And he's tired, super tired here. Everybody, all the Obligators are tired. It's been a long day for them, but he's still smiling. We also get more, I guess, tidbits that living the Inquisitor lifestyle drains your body of its strength, and that they all need to rest, and rest kind of often. And so most of his, after this, I guess, ceremony from the Lord Ruler, most of his brethren have already, they're already shuffling their way out.
The break
room. They're going to go to sleep. They're going to go sleep immediately, take a load off. And so it's just him and the Lord Ruler now. and servants are extinguishing the bonfire slowly around them, and the Lord Ruler's like, "You finally got it. You've finally got what you want, and now I can be at peace. You're not going to bother me anymore." As Car's responding, he hears something. It's like a snap of air, a click, and he looks up, and there's a small metal disc like bouncing across the floor, and it rolls at a stop right against his foot. And he picks up a coin. And he looks up at the massive window, noting the small hole broken through it. And the only thing he's thinking is, what? And then dozens more coins zip through the window. And it's enough to weaken the glass to where someone could break through. And that's exactly what happens. Shards of colorful glass spun in the air. And a small figure clad in a mist cloak, carrying some daggers, lands in a crouch a short distance. She skids a short distance, and the mist is billowing through the opening behind her, and it's drawn forward towards her allomancy, swirling around her body. And she crouches there like a herald of the night, and then she just springs forward for the Lord Ruler. And so, pretty grand entrance for Vin. And I struggle with this a little bit from a realistic perspective. It's certainly cool, but between an Allomancer, like a Steel Inquisitor would be his ability, and then obviously the Lord Ruler's ability, like, she's not that quick. Like, she's quick, and she could certainly sneak up on someone and hit them quick, but like,
well, they're really tired.
I just feel like
they're really tired.
We've had a long day, man. Our reaction times are slowed. I didn't eat my my Wheaties this morning.
The water boy didn't put the electrolytes in the
it's just hard for me to believe that they wouldn't actually have time to react to kind of. I mean, we'll see some stuff here in a minute, but like, I just feel like they would have been on this a little sooner. I'll let dogs lie on that one.
I like it. Nice.
So, perspective change. We're with Vin. She's burning the 11th metal, and she now sees the Lord Ruler's past self, and it's standing beside him, beside the throne. And so she completely ignores the Inquisitor, and she just is lunging straight for this, this past self that she's now seen of the Lord Ruler when she is burning the metal. And the Lord Ruler's just kind of watching her, like he's just almost disinterested, like, come on, this again? She plunged directly towards the past self's heart, and her daggers go right through it, almost like it's a ghost, right? Like, no effect whatsoever, just literally passes through it like it's a projection.
Right.
And this is not good, right? Like, this is her idea. Like, if she can, for whatever reason, kill or destroy the past self, maybe that'll get rid of the current version of this Lord Ruler. And she's obviously frustrated because she was able to touch her own image when she burned gold, and she just can't kind of figure out, why can't she touch this guy? It didn't work, and she's thinking, oh man, I failed. And Carr crashes into her, grabs her, holds her tight. They tumble down the steps. She's grunting. She's flaring her pewter, and she's kicking and doing everything she can to scramble. And the Inquisitor grunts, and her kick actually tossed him into the air and ripped his grip free of her, which is pretty impressive. Very powerful kick. The Lord Ruler bellows, "Inquisitors, come to me. Like, come to Daddy. It's time, fight for me." And,
get down, Mr. President.
yeah. Jesus. So she is thinking, okay, like, this didn't work. That was my one plan. It's time for me to go. And Carr, unfortunately, is right back on top of her again, tackles her. He's got an arm around her throat, pinning her arms back behind her back. She's fighting angrily, but he's very, very extremely strong. She's trying to use some steel pushes against things around her to kind of push him backwards, but he's barely stumbling. And the Lord Ruler is chuckling at this, and he's like, "You're going to have very little success against Carr. He was a soldier a very long time ago, and no one can break his grip, no matter how strong they are."
Whoa.
And she's still struggling against it. She's not going to give up here. But as he's like choking her out, he's like really passionate in her ear. And it's like his breathing is like he's just a little excited to be, taking the life of this being. And she could hear it in his kind of in his breath and in his voice. And so one other quizzer does walk in to help. And she's thinking, okay, this is actually it, right? Like she's feeling kind of the light pushing in, the everything's kind of closing in on her, and
right.
She's trying to survive, but she really thinks that like this is defeat, and like maybe this is even death. But oddly, these mists that are in the room that came in the window with her, they're not curling around her as they usually did, as if something is pushing them away. She's thinking, I failed Kelsier, I'm sorry. And the second Inquisitor stepped up beside the first and reached out and grabbed something at Carr's back, and there was a ripping sound.
Ooh.
And Vin immediately drops, and she's, gets her breath back, and she, flares her pewter to recover. And Carr stood over her, and he's teetering, and he kind of limply tosses to the side and sprawls on the ground. And the second Inquisitor is standing behind him, holding what appears to be a large metal spike, like the ones in the Inquisitor's eyes.
Ooh.
And it's like, okay, what's going on there? And so when I first read this, I was like, oh, he like stabbed him? But obviously, no. We see that Carr has a giant hole in his back, big enough for a metal spike, and that his face is pale and lifeless, and he's just dead. And Vin's like, oh my god, another spike. Like, that's the secret, And the Lord Ruler is pretty upset, and he stands up, and literally in the effort of standing up, the entire throne shoots back from him, which is pretty sick.
Pretty nuts.
That's pretty powerful. And he's like, betrayal, one of my own. And then Inquisitor dashed towards the Lord Ruler. And his robe, his hood, the cowl fell back. And Vin saw the bald head, and she's like, oh, this kind of looks familiar for some reason. He's still got the spike heads coming out of the front, and there's clearly some tips of some spikes coming out of his back that, out of the back of the skull that I can see from his eyes. But she's like, it kind of looks like Kelsier. And then she's like, no, it can't be Kelsier, but, oh, who is it? Marsh. Marsh is back. You tricky Marshy.
Yeah, this is nuts.
It's so cool. And so Marsh is an Inquisitor. And we get the tidbit, like, she's thinking, oh, they weren't investigating him because they suspected him. They wanted to recruit him. And now it looks like he's going to, fight the Lord Ruler, and that she's got to help somehow. Then the Lord Ruler is yelling for his Inquisitors, but the Lord Ruler freezes. He notices something sitting outside of the door to the throne room, and it's a small group of metal spikes, steel spikes, just like the one Marsh had pulled at Carr's back. There looked to be about 7 of them. Now, there were only 9 of these guys to begin with. 7 are out there, dead. 1's in the room, dead. And there's only 1 left, and he's Marsh.
Dude.
So, super awesome. Attaboy Marsh. That was a big surprise. I was not expecting this.
Yeah, I loved it. It was a great reveal. I thought for sure Marsh was dead. And like whatever Marsh is now, like this is just, it's awesome. Yeah, I'm here for it. He saves the day, like big time.
He does. He comes in huge, comes in clutch, and she can still. I guess after we see these spikes, Vin is rushing to help Marsh. She thinks she's got to do something, and as she gets close to the Lord Ruler, she can feel his power and the depression that like surrounds him, and it's like she calls it an asphyxiation of her soul, and she's like trying to flare her copper, but it's not really even working that well. And Marsh stumbles at this, like at the kind of, I guess, depression or this cloud around the Lord Ruler, and the Lord Ruler swings back a backhand like the one that killed Kelsier, and Marsh ducks and he spins around and grabs the back of the Emperor's black robe and yanks, ripping the robe off, and Marsh freezes because guess what? No spike.
Yeah.
We thought that there was going to be a spike there or something, but there wasn't. And so the Lord Ruler spins around and basically tosses chucks Marsh across the room. Basically just hits him with an elbow, I guess.
Yeah, just sends him. It's like crazy.
Yeah, sing all the way across the room. And as Marsh lands, his head cracks on the floor. And she's screaming, and she's trying to, get to him. And as she's flying, the Lord Ruler basically absentmindedly raised his hand, and Ven felt something powerful crash into her. It felt like a steel push slamming against her, the metals inside her stomach. And so this is something new that we're seeing that no one should be able to do, right? Like when metals are in your body, no one's supposed to be able to control them or push against them or pull against them, right? Wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, but it seems like that's kind of what's happening to her here.
Right.
So all this stuff, so the Lord Ruler's pushing out away from him, and he's pushing so hard that, like, coins that were just on the floor that, Ven had brought in earlier are scattering and flying. Doors are coming free of their mountings and breaking away from the room. He's just pushing out all around him extremely, extremely powerfully. And even glass is quivering and sliding away from the dais. And Ven's tossed to the side. The metals in her stomach are threatening to rip from her body, and she slams to the ground. And she's basically almost unconscious, and she's just like in a daze, and she just can't even believe how much power this guy has.
Yeah, it's bad.
She notices, because the Lord Ruler's walking kind of down the dais towards them, and he's ripping off his torn clothing, and he's got all this jewelry on his wrists, fingers, wrists. There's a bunch of bracelets, but there's also something like these armbands, metal armbands around his upper arms that are piercing inside of his skin. And she's thinking, oh, that's kind of clever. Like, that keeps them from being pushed or pulled. The Lord Ruler finally talks to Ven here directly and says, like, what did you think? Like, you were going to come in here and defeat me? And Ven's doing everything she can, right? She's flaring her pewter again.
I love this his sentence, like, am I some common inquisitor? My powers endowed fabrications. Yeah, great. Yeah, just he's who do you think you are? Oh yeah. So no, here we go. We're gonna see.
I'm not the person I gave power to. I am the power, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
That's yeah. So she tries to run, and he just flings her. She goes to the other side of the room, hits a pillar. There's really nothing for her to do, right?
Wow.
She pulls on one of the Lord Ruler's own bracelets, one of the ones that didn't pierce his skin, and he immediately whips his arm around, and it tosses her, throwing off her pole, and it made her spin kind of in a crazy way into the air, and then he slammed her down with another powerful one of these like pushes that he had, and she slams backwards. Metals in her stomach wrenched. Glass is quivering around her, and then her mother's earring ripped free of her ear.
Huh.
And she spinning around, crashes down into a pillar, and she heard a crazy snap, and there's a bunch of pain in her leg. Her leg is basically snapped in two.
Oh man, I shivered.
And it's broken backwards at a bad angle. So she's thinking again, like, this is it, right? She's thinking about this jewelry, and that, hey, the Lord Ruler doesn't worry about wearing jewelry, and, with his abilities and his strength, he wouldn't need to. And Ven's thinking she was silly for using his own jewelry as an anchor, and because it only let him manipulate her and control how she was using her allomancy. And He says, "You think this is the first time someone's tried to kill me, child? I've survived burnings and beheadings. I've been stabbed and sliced, crushed and dismembered. I was even flayed once near the beginning."
Oh my
And so
god.
we had heard of some of these things before. I can't remember exactly who was telling us about
Oh,
some of the
definitely
things that
different. Yeah,
happened.
different places we've heard all this stuff. Well, not all of it, but yes, most of it.
And so, not necessarily a surprise, but interesting to hear him kind of even bring that up.
Right.
And so he turns away from her, turns towards March. Vin's thinking, okay, like the Lord Ruler here, like he doesn't look like this really kind of all powerful being, right? Like he looks exhausted. Like it's not his body, which is muscular, but it's just like the air around him. Like he's just tired. And he says, "I am God." Um, and God can't be killed. You can't overthrow God. Your little rebellion, like I've seen this 100 times. Like, think you're gonna get to me? Like, how many times must I prove myself before you idiot ska see the truth? How many of you do I have to kill? And she's doing anything she can, but she's running out of metals, and she's kind of flaring her pewter. Even though her leg's broken, it's not really helping. She's doing what she can to get up, and she's kind of slumping against the pillar there, and she's thinking like, yes, he is too strong, but the Lord Ruler picks up Marsh's limp body with his, and it basically says, "How dare you?" and is very upset with Marsh, and saying, after everything I gave you, I made you superior to ordinary men. I made you dominant. And Vin's head snaps up, and through all the pain and everything she's feeling, a memory strikes her.
Yeah.
And this is something that the Lord Ruler keeps saying, right? He keeps saying that his people should be dominant. And we know that that's something that we had seen
somebody say
in the Lord Ruler's notebook. Vin feels within her. She's got a little bit of 11th metal left. She burns it. The Lord Ruler's past self appears there next to him, and it's a man in a fur cloak and heavy boots, a full beard and strong muscles. Not a tyrant, not a hero, not a warrior, a herdsman, someone for life, dressed for life in the mountains, or maybe a packman, right?
Oh.
And Vin whispers his name, Rashek, and the Lord Ruler spins around in startlement, and she says it again. "That's your name, isn't it, Rashek? You didn't write the logbook. You were his servant, the packman who hated him." And she's like, "You killed him. That's what happened that night. That's why the book ended. You killed the hero and took his place. You went into the cavern in his stead. But instead of saving us, instead of saving the world, you took control of it." And he's just like, "You know nothing." And he's still holding Marsh. And Vin's like, "You hated him. You thought that Terraceman should have been the hero, and that everybody else was less than you. You couldn't stand the thought that like someone was going to be fulfilling your own legends, right?" And so he lifts a hand. He's pushing against her again. She's feeling the full weight. The metals in her stomach are being pushed back, and she's thinking she's going to get crushed against the pillar, and she's screaming, and she flares her last bit of pewter, and the mists curl around her, creeping through the broken window across the floor, and she could hear something ringing in the air outside of the broken window. She couldn't really understand what it was, but it sounds like cheering, like thousands of people cheering. Almost as if they're cheering her on.
Yeah.
She then, as she's thinking about the Lord Ruler and what is he actually, a packman, a servant, a terraceman, a ferrochemist. And she's got her dazed, she's dazed, and she's looking at him, and he's got these bracelets made of metal, and there's some that are piercing his skin. And so those couldn't be affected by allomancy. And she's like, why would he do that? He's supposed to be wearing metal as like a showy off thing. And he wasn't supposed to be worried about people pulling or pushing against his metals. Or so it seems. But what if all the other metals he wore were simply a distraction from the things in his arms? You want to keep people focused on those instead of the bands twisting around his upper arms.
Right.
And she's like, "Could it be that easy?" But she could barely think, and she burns her iron. She's thinking, "Oh, the Lord Ruler can pierce copper clouds. I can too. We're the same." And so that's what she does. And she flares iron, and the blue lines jut out, and they're hitting the upper arm bracelet things. And she stokes her iron, and she's concentrating, and she's still flaring her pewter, doing everything she can. She's barely able to basically get this off. Like, he's still pushing her incredibly strong. But the mists are spinning around her, dancing because of her allomancy, and she knows here that she's dying. She knew it, and she could barely feel the pain anymore. She's being suffocated, being crushed, and she drew upon the mess. And 2 new lines appeared, and she screamed, pulling on them with a strength she had never known. And she flares her iron, and she pulls against the bracelets. Pulling's basically the only thing she can even think of. And just as her pewter runs out and all of the pain's crushing in, she has this last kind of will or thought hit her of, he killed Kelsier. And it's the last little burst as her pewter flares out that she needs to pull, and she rips the bracelets free, and the Lord Ruler cries out in pain. And Vin immediately drops. Right, she doesn't have the push against her anymore, and the bloody bracelets hit the ground, and they skidded across and landed right before her in the room. And the Lord Ruler stood there in horror. He got bloody arms. He dropped Marsh and started running towards her. But there's not much she can do because her pewter's gone. And she pushed on the bracelets, shot them back past the Lord Ruler, and he spun around, watched them, fly the other way. The sun's breaking the horizon here. Yeah, they fly out the window, right? Down into the crowd below would be my guess.
The city.
He's screaming, no. His muscles start to go limp, and they start to deflate, just as Sazed had when Sazed had saved up all his strength. And he collapsed on the floor, and he began to form back into an old man. Vin is obviously in a lot of pain, and she laid there for a time. We don't know how long, but then next thing we know, Sazed is here. So he's gone off. He's done what he's needed to do with Elend, and he's made his way back just as he said he would. Pours something down Vin's throat, and it's basically some metals, and she knew kind of naturally that she needed to flare them to get her strength back up and kind of stay alive here. And so she does. She's got a good fracture. Sazed is telling her to be careful, and she's saying, no, like, Marsh, like, you need to go and like take care of Marsh. And Sazed is like, Marsh, what are you even talking about? And then he looks over and sees obviously this Inquisitor laying there, and Sazed is like, oh, by the forgotten gods, and runs over. And Marsh sits up, and he's like, what is going on? What's that thing there? And Vin points to him, and it's like, oh yeah, that's the Lord Ruler. Like, I killed him. Yeah, and
it's crazy.
She's thinking, why am I different? And it's a great question. I think I've had that kind of that same question a lot of, like, what makes her so different and so powerful and able to do these things. Maybe she's the hero of ages. I don't know. And so, Sazed is saying, hey, he's actually not dead. He's still alive. And Vin's like, what? And Marsh gets up. She gets up. Sazed helps her over. And the Lord Ruler's crawling. He's crawling towards the window where the last direction of where the bracelets were. Yeah. And people are cheering below. She couldn't really see them, but or what they were cheering about, but they're cheering. And Sazed is like, yeah, like, talking to the Lord Ruler. He's like, listen, he who would have been our God, do you hear them cheering? Those aren't for you. Those people never cheered for you. They found a new leader this evening and a new pride. And all he can say is, my obligators. And Marsh says, your obligators are going to forget you, and I'm going to see to that. And the other Inquisitors are dead, slain by my own hand. And the other Praelands, everyone saw the Lord Ruler transfer the power to the Inquisitors, which Marsh is the only one left in the city, and so he is ruling the church now. And the Lord Ruler's not super happy about it, right? Like he's not super thrilled.
No.
And the Lord Ruler looks he looks down at the crowd, and he's starting to see that, oh yeah, failure is all around me, and I've been defeated. And he's like, you don't understand. You don't know what I do for mankind. I was your god, even if you couldn't see it. By killing me, you've doomed yourselves.
Whoa. What?
Ominous. A little ominous. Maybe we have to write 2 more books about it. Figure it out. And so Vin is kind of looking around at Marsh and says it, and she basically kind of stands over him and says, "Hey, Lord Ruler, I bring you a message from a friend of ours. He wanted you to know that he's not dead and he can't be killed. He is hope." And then she raised the spear and rammed it directly into his heart.
Oh.
And he did.
Oh man, it's just
he gone.
What a great chapter. I mean, I loved it. What's great about Vin is that she has the courage to believe in a way that is making her kind of superhuman, and it's really cool. It's like a beautiful like message and idea of this like courage to believe, and coming through here in the end in the dire moments of the Sanderlanche. Man, I loved it. What did you think of Final Empire Sans Epilogue?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I thought that they were going to be able to kill him, especially when you have the information that there's 2 more books. I just feel like maybe something goes wrong here, and then there's going to be a new plan.
Prolonged Lord Ruler battle. Yeah, nice.
Right.
Okay,
something,
totally.
but we didn't see that. And I think what you said, and you kind of mentioned it, I think at some point way in the past, podcasts ago, where you had said, like, this book has a satisfying ending. Like, you're going to be satisfied. Like,
yeah.
While there are 3 books, like, this one does technically end, and it's like good, and so we're seeing that here. And it definitely felt good, right? Like, Vin, the person who has come up from squalor and has learned and grown so much, is the one that then kills the Lord Ruler. Marsh is alive, right?
Yeah,
like, that's a wild twist.
Kills God, takes over the church.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah, Marsh.
It's awesome.
Saze is still watching over Vin, which I think is good. She needs that. And so,
right.
Pretty. And I guess I should wait because it's in the epilogue, so I'll wait a little bit. But it's pretty crazy some of the tidbits we learn, especially about the obligators, about the Inquisitors and their spikes and additional spikes, and what does all that mean? And
right,
it's this weird dynamic, and I'm very much was here for it on that ride, and I do think it ended in a good way. So
nice, hell yeah. Well, I know, I love it, and there's like there's something that's called out in here that actually I hadn't thought about until Era 2 for like a really long time in Mistborn series, and it was pretty exciting to kind of like get a refresher of that here. It was really fun. The Lord Ruler, and like interesting, it being an interesting thing. I think a lot of great reveals, and like a really unique, death for him. That was awesome. He like,
you get to watch this guy. I'm sorry.
No.
Go.
Oh, he just was like totally dominating these people and like being terrible, absolute terrible person, and just like the total revenge story from the lowest of the low scav, and like, it was so great.
Well, it's pretty cool, I think, to like, hey, like, this person, right? Like, he's not a true god. He's this person that's ruling with fear, and you just take one thing away, right? Like, and his power's gone, right? Like, he literally withers away once you take away his secret, right?
Yeah.
He's not like Vin. He's not like Kelsier. He's not like even like Elend, who isn't, supposedly isn't an Alamancer. Supposedly. We'll see.
I love it, buddy.
But
this is great.
but like still someone, right, who's powerful, and like why are they powerful? It's not because of this thing, and like so I think it's a good moral story and like a good lesson of like, people like that, like, if you can find the one thing that they're leaning on, like their one crutch, like there's gonna be something. And if you can take that away, right, like the
Achilles heel,
the facade is gonna collapse, and you're gonna be able to see the man behind the curtain, which in this case is a 1,000-year-old terraceman.
Absolutely, definitely get Wizard of Oz vibes from him. Like this kind of using a trick, like in like the simplest of tricks of like deception, right? Of oh, look at these rocks, look at these metals on my finger here. Yeah, it's definitely a good kind of bait and switch, and to get beat by Vin is just awesome. So,
yeah, a great ending to a great book, but we're not done.
We're not done. Hey, my wife's calling me for a cast iron interlude. She's calling. Dude, she's calling in. Yeah. All right.
First time on the pod.
But maybe I should mute myself.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm gonna figure that out. But I'm not going to stop recording. Cast iron interlude, go.
Dude, hell yeah. Cast iron interludes, the interlude for me and you. We're casting our iron in the fire. Iron poker, fire poker. This interlude is a joker smoker. Don't know what we're singing about anymore.
All right.
Let it go. Let it go.
Letting it go. No McDonald's in this cast iron interlude pot. But, to those McDonald's out there.
And dangerous.
Ding, fries are done. Well, I think because those fries are done, we could probably jump right into a snack here, Kyle.
Dude, snack time. So, finishing it out strong with an epilogue, and we're seeing one kind of an interesting bit of the logbook. Kind of the Lord Ruler, I guess not the Lord Ruler, right? Like this man who was going to be the hero of ages.
Nice. We didn't talk about that. Yeah, it's a good point.
He's confused and his soul's all messed up. And he's thinking about these kind of things, but he's feeling and sensing peace within himself as well. And he's looking out over like sunrises and still mornings, and like these views are so majestic, nothing's ever going to beat this. And if there's prophecies, if there is a hero of ages, like he says, then in my mind whispers that there must be something directing my path. Something's watching, something cares. These peaceful whispers tell me a truth I wish very much to believe, and if I fail, another shall come to finish my work. And so,
yeah, the end is right rowdy there for sure.
Yeah, so like I think we're seeing some. What literary tool is that, right? Like where we're calling something out in the future,
prophesizing,
foreshadowing. A little foreshadowing, right? Hey, I know that something is directing me, and something bigger than myself, something cares about how this is going to turn out. And even if I'm not going to be able to finish this, someone is going to finish it because it's important work.
Interesting.
So
yeah,
what kind of what's that something?
Yeah, what are we going to be?
Yeah, I mean, is it is it a god? Is it a are we all in a simulation and it's like a programmer? What's going on? Who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, this podcast could just be part of a simulation. We don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know either. So, but our final meal of the book.
We know that. Final meal. Chow time.
One could say a dessert.
Yeah, exactly. One could say a dessert indeed. Yeah, buddy.
So we'll jump right into it. Sazed and Vin and Marsh are hanging up. They're on a rooftop, and they're kind of discussing the events and what's going on. And we get a lot of explanations from Sanderson about some of the stuff that's going on and kind of what occurred and how could it occur. And hey, yeah, the Lord Ruler was both a ferrochemist and an allomancer, and we're learning a little bit about like, hey, pretty much everyone in the group besides Kelsier is alive, right? Like they didn't suffer any major casualties in the uprising against the nobility and against the garrison and against the ministry, and that Elend is very busy right now because he's setting up a new government, his government. And so getting some tidbits about kind of where this world is going and who's in charge and what's kind of going to be what the future has in store, I think. And so Sayes is explaining if the ferrochemist were also an allomancer, he might be able to burn his own metal storage, which Vin had basically tried before to burn some of Sazed's, that ferrochemist's metal storage, but couldn't. But if you're both, maybe you can burn your own, right? And so, if you were able to make your own ferrochemical storages yourself and burn them for extra power, and Marsh is here and he's not really following it, and Sayes is kind of having to explain it to him. Allomancy draws its power from metals. Ferrochemy draws its power from the person's body. And so what Sayes thinks the Lord Ruler did, he combined these two abilities. He used one of the attributes only available to ferrochemy, and that's changing his age. But he fueled it with allomancy, almost like fuel injected his ferrochemy with allomancy. Yeah, so by burning a ferrochemical storage that he had made, he effectively made a new allomantic metal for himself, one that made him younger when he burned it. And so basically he's guessing that it would basically have gained him a limitless supply of youth since he was drawing most of his power from the metal rather than his own body. All he has to do was spend the occasional bit of time aged to give himself ferrochemical storage to burn and stay young. So if you, I think, call this back to the room inside the room, the cabin, the winter cabin, the terrace cabin, the porter, and the mountain cabin. Who did we see in there? We saw old crusty Lord Ruler. And so like maybe that's right, his little retreat that he goes to when he needs to spend some time being old.
Yeah.
And or maybe that's just, it feels homey and he just wants to hang out there. But that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from that. It's like this weird sanctuary.
Recharge time.
So Marsh asks, so burning these storages would make him younger than when he started? And Sayes is like, well, he would have had to have placed that excess use within another ferrochemical storage. And so allomancy, its powers generally come in bursts and flares, and the Lord Ruler wouldn't have wanted all of his youth at once. So he would have stored it inside a piece of metal that he could slowly drain, and that's the bracelets, right, that were injected into his arm. So they're kind of going back and forth, and we're kind of getting some details there about what was going on. Jumping ahead a little bit, we're getting some ideas about why the Lord Ruler did some things he did in his empire. And so, basically he feared keepers, right? He feared other terracemen, and that's kind of, this is why he didn't want another, part ferrochemist, part allomancer, because he was fearing that, like, he's the most powerful being that's ever lived. He's got both of these great abilities, and that's the only thing keeping him in charge. He doesn't want someone else to discover that or to accidentally, become that, because that's the only person that would probably ever be able to challenge his rule. And so that's why they had the breeding programs. That's why he had such strict, a tight grip on the terrace culture and the people, and making people eunuchs and all that kind of stuff. And so, I mean, this, I think specifically to me calls out like, well, is Vin a allomancer and a ferrochemist, right? Like, if the only
Interesting.
person that he thought could conquer him and take him down was someone who had both, like, does she have both, right? Like, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But she's saying here, hey, if Vin is saying, like, if his powers came from a mixture of ferrochemy and allomancy, what happened at the Well of Ascension? What was the power that the man who wrote the logbook was supposed to find? Of course, we don't know. And Vin's just like, yeah, but he was so powerful. Like, he was able to push the metals inside my body. Like, how did he get so strong at allomancy? And Says is just like, the only person that could answer that's the person you killed this morning. So, and Vin's like, well, maybe I shouldn't have killed him. And he's like, no, he's going to die pretty soon anyway. And, I'm glad I was there to record with the Lord Ruler. He was struck down by one of the ska he oppressed. And so this, I just got this now, just rereading this, very loyal vibes from Wheel of Time. Shouldn't be a big spoiler, but
nice.
He's
definitely.
big book guy, big history guy, big I want to capture everybody's story. So
loyal vibes for sure.
Kind of cool.
Agreed. Another reason to like Sazed.
Sazed's the man, dude.
Awesome.
Loyal was the man too. Dude, when Loyal, spoiler alert, don't listen for the next 15 seconds if you haven't read Wheel of Time. But when Loyal and his his entire race just go merc, and they just rage, so dude. Good. It was awesome. It was the best. I was all right, you guys can listen again.
Tune back in.
And so Sazed is saying, hey, I'm going to be very busy for a while. I have so much to restore and so much to tell the world. He's going to record what happened here, but it's going to be a while. And, Vin's kind of uncomfortable with kind of having her name associated with this and being in the limelight. She's one for the shadows and for the mists. Exactly. And so he's like, yeah, we'll work it out, Vin. Like, we'll make something work. And, so Marsh is speculating and says, the power that the Lord Ruler found in the cave, or Rashek, maybe it was just allomancy. And so we're getting information, I don't know if we had this before, that there's no record of any allomancers before the Ascension. And that
interesting.
Everybody agrees, or most people, that allomancers first appeared with the mists. So when the mists showed up, so did the allomancers. Oh. So it's like, did the mists show up because allomancers showed up, or did the allomancers show up because the mist showed up, or did they come out together? It's just kind of this weird, chicken versus the egg, I think, scenario.
Cool. I like it.
But speaking of mists, Vin's got a lot of thoughts about, hey, what's up with these mists, right? Like, I was able to draw something from the mists.
Oh, so cool.
She hasn't been able to replicate it. She's only done it the once, but it's obviously something very real and very strange to her. And she wants to know what it is. She's asking now Marsh about the spikes in his eyes and hey, do those hurt? And he rests a hand on his chest and he says, yes, all 11 of them throb. And that somehow the pain is reacting to his emotions. And Vin's shocked. And we get the tidbits, hey, 2 in the head, 8 in the chest, and then 1 in the back to seal them all together. And that's the only way to kill an Inquisitor. You separate the top spikes from the bottom ones, just as Kel did through beheading, and that's it. Vin is like, hey, that's all great, but, we saw your dead body, and there was blood everywhere. How'd you do that? And he's like, hey, I was going to send word of my survival, but they were watching me closely. I wasn't expecting Kelsier to move so quickly. And Marsh is just like, that bastard did it. He didn't, he do it? That's crazy. I'll never forgive him for stealing my dream of overthrowing the final empire and succeeding at it. And I'll never forgive him for getting himself killed in order to do it. So kind of a sweet little nod from Marsh to his brother. So we get, this is actually super creepy here. Vin's like, well, whose corpse was that at the soothing station? And he's kind of got this distaste in his mouth and his eyes. He's like, there were several corpses there, and that the process to create a new Inquisitor is messy, and he'd rather
Oh.
not talk about it.
Oh man, oh, that's some new questions there, buddy. Because
Yeah,
there's some good questions down that road. Oof.
it sounds gross.
Mhm. It is.
So a little bit about Chondras, and you know, because of their reputation, they want to be unseen. They do get hired, especially by noble houses sometimes. And Vin's like, well, why didn't this Chandra just impersonate Kelsier and die in his stead? And Sazed has to explain, like, for a Chandra to be able to like get a body, they have to absorb the person's like flesh and bones, and they're like mistwraiths. They have no skeletons of their own. And Marsha's like, hey, like, the Chandra that impersonated Kelsier, he's here, like he's back. He's no longer in Kelsier's body, but he came looking for you. And Vin's like, why me? And she is his master now.
Yeah.
And she does not like that at all, right?
Contract
She's like,
over from Kelsier.
yeah, she doesn't want anything to do with it. Like, she says it multiple times, like, I don't want him. And
Yeah, she's
Sazed like,
mad
well,
about
it's gonna be like, it could be a very useful ally in the months to come. And she's just like, nope, not what after it did. Like, I don't want anything to do with it. And so Marsh is finally like, hey, I'm gonna go make an appearance at the keep. We learn that Elend is using Keep Venture kind of as the home of the new empire, at least for now. Don't know if he's going to move into Kredek Shah or not. But Marsh is saying, hey, I'm going to go off to the keep. The new king wants me to represent the ministry in his negotiations. And Vin's like, well, I don't see why the ministry deserves anything. And Sage reminds her, hey, like, there's still obligators around. Lots of them. And, like, they're very powerful. And they're the most efficient and well-trained bureaucratic force in the Empire. Elend would be wise to bring them over on his side. And, Marsh is basically hoping he can help him achieve that. And so Marsh is like, hey, if I can establish control over the canton of orthodoxy, hopefully in a few years the ministry is going to change its view. Like, slowly but surely, I'll be able to change things, especially in a way that maybe the obligators won't even know what they've lost. But we've got outstanding inquisitors, right? We think there's maybe at least 10 out in
the Empire,
out in the Empire that weren't in Luthadel, and that they're going to be a problem. But Vin's concerned about something else, and it's the statement that the Lord Ruler said, right? Of, hey, like, you don't know what I do for mankind. I was your god. Killing me, you've doomed yourself. And so she asks Sazed, hey, what's the deepness? The thing that the hero from the logbook was supposed to defeat. And Sazed doesn't know. He wishes he knew. And he says, like, or she asks, hey, it didn't come? Like, the deepness never came? And Sazed says, no, it never did. Apparently not. The legends agree that the deepness has not been stopped. Had the deepness stopped, the very world would have been destroyed.
right?
And, maybe these stories are exaggerated. Maybe it's something that the hero was supposed to fight, of their own conscience. But basically, the hero or the Lord Ruler, they had to choose to dominate the world or let it be free. Like, maybe that's what the choice was. And, Vin's thinking, no, that doesn't really sound right. The Lord Ruler, he had this fear and terror in his eyes when he was saying this stuff to them, as he was right before they killed him. And he said, do, not did, like, what I do for mankind, meaning he's still doing it. And so, jumping a little bit forward, Sazed is like, you should go to him, go to Elend. He's going to need you. And, she's she's kind of pondering this, and she asks Says, "Hey, were you there? Did you hear his speech?" And yes, Says did hear his speech. Once they discovered that there was no ATM in the treasury, Lord Venture insisted that we go seek help for you. And so like that's I think a big right, like that was part of this whole plan, where the Lord Ruler keeps his ATM in the ministry, and like that's how we're funding this entire empire to begin with, and it's missing. So was it never there? Did someone heist it before anyone got there to try to steal it first? Like, what happened to all the ATM?
Yeah, it's a big mystery.
Certainly another thing I think for us to read on and kind of figure out. I think it's going to come into play for sure. So Ellen basically did a good job when he talked in front of the crowds, right? Like the rebels were killing everybody. They were even turning a little bit on themselves maybe. And, some of the soldiers were trying to surrender because the soldiers are really just ska, and they wouldn't let them. And Ellen saw all that was happening, and he stood up before them, and Says thought that they were going to kill him, but they did not. And he did a good job to kind of dissuade everybody. And, he talked about his ideas of new government and what was possible. And, it was good. And, but Breeze was there, right? He's very influential in helping calm the people. And once they started to listen to Ellen, other people did too. And that basically Says thinks like he's going to be a good king. He's got some legitimacy, right, from the noble houses who are still going to be a problem. And like, even though they might just want to use him as a puppet, it's still better than, one of them taking over directly. Vin says in response to Says, a good man. Yes, Ellen is a good man. I've known a few of those now. So, Vin obviously wasn't a big fan of the men in her life, right? She's been beaten and broken down and abused and treated like shit by lots of bad dudes, and now she's finally knows some good guys. So
it's better guys.
So little not perspective change, but I guess a little flat.
Some misty boys.
Well, yeah, she knows some misty boys now. So she's jumping forward, a little time warp, and she's up on top of Keep Venture, looking down at Ellen through the skylight, the same one that hasn't been repaired yet, that she threw, or someone, I guess one of the people that had come to assassinate him that night, the night that she killed Shan, where they fell through his skylight. I guess that's still not fixed. And so she's having all these conflicting. Yeah. I mean, they have servants. Like, come on, get on it. Like, come on, dude. And so she's kind of looking down, and she's thinking, a very teeny bopper romance. Like, I love him not. Like, maybe I should stay. Maybe I should go. Maybe he's better without me. All this stuff kind of going back and forth. And she wants to go down there. She wants to go see him, but something's like holding her back, and she wasn't really sure what she wanted anymore. She wasn't certain in this instance, is she Vin, or is she Valette, or is she something completely different? And she's in the mists up on the roof, and the mists empowered, and they protected, and they hid. Even when she didn't want to do those things, any of those three things, that's what they did to her. And she thinks, I can't do this. This isn't who I am. I'm not the person that can be with him, or should be with him. I'm not the child. Or she says, I am the child who grew up in the shadows. That's where I belong. And like, I don't deserve him. And she, is kind of ditching him. She's like, it's time to go. I'm not going to do this. But as she's kind of walking away, hobbling across the roof, she pauses, and she's thinking...
This is about Reen?
About Reen, yeah. and she's thinking about, hey, like, he died promising us that you had starved to death years ago. That's what the Inquisitor Carr had told her.
Had revealed to her the truth.
This is the best time for Reen to ever come back to her in her brain.
Sure.
And, she'd almost completely forgotten this exchange with the Inquisitor, and she's finally having that, like, understanding that, hey, Reen didn't abandon me. He'd been captured, and he was looking out for me. The unlawful child of their enemy, they tortured him trying to get to her, and he protected her. And he didn't betray me. He always promised he would, but in the end, he didn't. He wasn't perfect, but he had loved her. And she hears him in her mind saying, "Go back." And before she could do anything else, she dashes down the roof and jumps up and just soars right in through that skylight. Drops a coin below her, pushes off of it, lands pretty eloquently.
Eloquent, like eloquently.
Yep. And so she lands pretty not maladroitly this time,
Nice.
but elendicoitally. And Ellen turns, and he's curious at the coin, and he sees Vin drop down next, just a second later. And she says, "Ellen Venture, there's something I've been meaning to tell you for some time." And she's crying here, and she goes, "You read too much, especially in the presence of ladies." And he smiled, throws back his chair, and grabs her in a firm embrace. Then closes her eyes, simply feeling the warmth of being held, and realized that that's all she had ever really wanted. And just like that, that's the end of Mistborn, the Final Empire.
Oh my gosh.
Epilogue's wrapped up. Part 5's wrapped up. The book is wrapped up.
Season 1 over.
Season 1 is done.
Well, I'd like to be the first to say it's been a privilege, man, and it's been an honor to get to read this with you and to go through on the journey. It's been a lot of fun. Got a bunch of shout outs, but my reaction just getting to read it again. So excited to keep on reading. But just like a great story.
Yeah, I mean,
great start.
Between those two chapters alone, I think as we move on to the second book, The Well of Ascension, I think that we have a lot of questions to be answered. How's this new government going to work? Are the obligators going to fall in line? What's happening with the Mist and Vin?
Yeah.
What are the Inquisitors that are out in the world? What are they going to do?
Yeah, right.
How's Marsh going to handle? Like, is he going to be able to wrangle the church? The Orthodoxy? Is he going to be able to lead that in a positive way? All of our friends that we brought along with us on this journey, as far as the people in the crew, we're talking Breeze, Hammond, Dachshund, Clubs, Spook. What's going to happen with them? What are their roles in the future? Kelsier indicated that, like, hey, they're going to need guidance from Vin, and that Vin is their Mistborn now. Like, she's basically got to take care of them. We've got a Chandra in the group now, right? That we don't know how that's really gonna, I guess, play out and what that's really gonna mean.
Right.
So how's that gonna, I guess, play into this? If the next book, well, maybe we can talk about that later, but where are we going? And maybe the title of the next book could be a clue. I don't know. We'll see, I guess, kind of how that all plays out. But
it's definitely mentioned there right at the end. Like I think it was the last or the second to last chapter they bring up the Well of Ascension. I think definitely the last chapter in the epilogue.
Right.
They do. Marsh.
Yeah, Vin's asking about it. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm excited to see it as well. And I think another thing was just what the Lord Ruler was talking about, kind of his
Yeah.
last words, and like figuring out like, well, what did he mean by that?
Yeah. And is that the deepness, or is it something even completely different?
I had the same
Also,
question, yeah, man. When I
what the
first read
fuck?
it.
We never saw Kolos.
Yeah, I know.
Come on, man. I was excited for that.
I am too. I am too. Yeah, I know.
We went through a whole book and didn't even get to see one. That's messed up. Also,
Yeah.
we really stuck to
I
the
like
central
that.
dominance in this book. Like,
Yes.
we didn't explore this kingdom, this empire at all.
Well, there's a big place out there, and we know that Kolos, whatever those are out there. I couldn't remember
Yeah.
if it was this book or the next one, honestly. Like I didn't do like a pre-work read. It all kind of blends together as a big story for me. But man, I'm excited to see
Yeah.
them when we see them.
Yeah.
Season
They'll come
2.
around eventually, I guess. So.
Yeah, yeah. I'll let you know right now. It's not like George R. R. Martin with like keeps on baiting you and baiting you. When are the dragons coming? When are the dragons coming?
Yeah.
Oh,
When am I going to write my final book? When am I going to write my final book?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I think even some smaller storylines, right? Like Lady Kliss, right, is still
Yeah.
around. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we haven't heard that she died in this rebellion.
Right.
And so, like, she seemed like she was going to be a problem. You know, there's just some minor characters, like what happened with Goodman Menace.
Yeah. Right.
You know, where's he at? Is he coming back?
I know.
So it'd be fun to, I think, at least check back in or have at least a brief run in with some of these characters.
Demu, remember Demu?
And yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's happening with Demu? Yeah, man.
Yep.
Some good characters out there.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, you know, I think we'll maybe save our theories as far as the Well of Ascension for a getting ready to read kind of preview episode, maybe for that book. But so you guys all, I guess you'll just have to download the next episode and tune in then. Bummer.
You're not the laugh-o. Listen and find out.
Yeah, dude. So, but no, I think overall, I mean, I think it was a easy to read in the sense that,
definitely.
you know, it wasn't overwhelming. New fantasy can certainly be overwhelming. We talked about that at the beginning of this podcast with things like Dune. Personally, for me, was very overwhelming. And while obviously this does throw a lot at you, right, a whole new magic system, he does it in a very spread out and measured and managed way where, I mean, very cleverly, right? Like Vin's learning about, you know, this metal and that metal from the different members of the crew. And we're going to kind of build those skills and learn more about that throughout the book. So we're learning with her because she's new to it all as well. And so I think that was a really neat way to introduce us to the science and the magic system and kind of how the world is coming together here. And so can't wait to see how it all expands and what's going to happen next. But super satisfied, I think, with this read. You know, I'd been very pleased with Sanderson's contributions at the end of the Wheel of Time series, his last, you know, those last 3 books that he co-wrote with Robert Jordan. So it was cool, I think, to now see his own style kind of on full display, you know, not necessarily trying to fit in a pseudo Jordan mold, but to kind of be free of that and to do it his own way. And I think it's very, very good. So it took us a long time, and I'm sure I forgot about a lot of stuff that has gone on since it's taken us that long, but I'm sure you'll remind me, or the viewers or our listeners might remind me, or you know, I'll just keep jumping back and you know, seeing what I can find. So
well, you know, some would say it's just more about the journey than the destination, but yeah, we'll read and find out.
Well put.
Well put. Oh no, I didn't. You know.
I know.
I didn't come up with that.
I know you don't.
But yeah. All that to say, It's been a real pleasure. Got a shout out to the moms.
Mommies.
Moms.
Mamas.
Shout out. Shout out to all of our listeners interacting. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming along this ride with us. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks everybody for listening.
The Misty Gals.
All the Misty Boys out there, Misty Gals. We appreciate you. Got another shout out on Facebook from someone that we had gotten before, but Lance.
Whoa.
Just wanted to shout you out again. Thanks for listening and showing us support. We appreciate you. He said on the Facebook, this is kind of fun. His idea, he said, love y'all's analysis of everything. If you're still looking for a good way to describe Ham, you could go with the philosophizer, or my favorite, the think tank.
The think tank. Oh, I love it, dude.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
so
my
that
God.
was...
Think tank.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts.
Thanks, Lance.
That hurts. That's philosophizer actually class. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm stacking what he's splitting. I'm here for it, man. That's some good stuff. Thanks, Lance.
So, shout out Lance. Shout out. We didn't know, I think, what this was going to be when we first started out and how it was all going to work. And I think it's been great to just have the support of some family and friends that, have given us the time, away from family and obligations to read and record and edit and things like that, but also to just support by listening, following along, picking up the book, buying the book, and, obviously that kind of thing costs money for people to do. And so we just appreciate everyone who's done that kind of thing and has followed us on this journey. And we certainly didn't really start out doing this for you, but I think as time has gone on, you're a big, I think, inspiration for sure, and something that we're always striving to kind of keep in the forefront and be mindful of, that we've got this kind of support network and this group out there that, we need to be responsible towards and responsible for. So, thanks for keeping us in check. And last but not least, Christopher, thanks for being a super good guide, dude. You got me into this book and into these books, right? So, Eye of the World, Wheel of Time.
Yeah, man, we did
start now.
Yeah, you crushed Wheel of Time, and now you're diving into the Cosmere. I mean, and you're reading other books on the side. You're killing it, buddy. Well, yeah. Thanks for joining on the ride. I'm loving it.
Yep, I appreciate you guided me and kind of being an anchor in this world. So I appreciate you, not just the Mistborn world, the Cosmere world, but also our earthly realm.
Oh, shucks.
Well, shucks. Thanks, buddy. I love you a lot.
It's a privilege. Love you too, man. And it's good that we get to spend this time together as much as we do. It's a lot of fun. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us. And, looking forward to another season. And we'll see you all in the funny papers of the deep cuts.
Deep cuts. Yeah, we'll see. You guys might get some deep cuts, and we don't know. I don't know now. I'm sure we'll have something out by then, by maybe when this episode comes out. But certainly, I think the plan is to continue the podcast for Mistborn: The Will of Ascension, Book 2 of the original trilogy. I think that's what we want to move forward with, and then as far as I think we will take a little time off, so this episode will come out on some Tuesday in the future. I think kind of looking at sometime in October. And I don't know exactly how long it'll be off. We'll be off the air to recoup a little bit, but also to catch up and be able to kind of jump into that new adventure, kind of get some groundwork laid for us, right? With the new season, changing some things up, adding some new stuff. And so, not planning on taking too terribly long off, but certainly maybe a we'll be off the air for summer, and we'll come back in the fall, just like all your favorite shows on ABC.
That's
or
right.
whatever,
That's right.
know?
The truck's just in the shop. We're in here. We're tuning it up. We're giving it a new coat, fresh set of fuels and fluids.
Mm-hmm. Some aftermarket taillights, spoiler.
Yeah. We're coming up. It's gonna be nice and shiny. Shards and Shenanigans season 2 coming at you, coming at you hot. Looking forward to it. And until then, listeners, stay safe out there in the Cosmere, and in the real world, or the realm, or whichever world is your real world. Hang in there, Misty Boys. Out.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.